I started that yesterday. I did my football camp yesterday, and we decided to add something with it, and we're doing that for the kids and for the first responders and all them great people that's out there that's really the essential workers that are putting their life on the line. So we're trying to do
That's
something
so
positive.
important. Because you gotta stay healthy and you gotta stay active. And
Right.
exercise is more than just for the body. It's for
Yes.
emotion and your ability to think. So,
Yep. Keeps the mind sharp.
mhm.
All right. Thank God it's coming up. I'm loving this. As soon as it pops up, I'll be um
It
all right.
says live on YouTube over here.
It's still twisting and turning.
Okay.
There she is. All right. Right, Ms. Eddie. Like always, it is a blessing to have you on the One Blood Movement of Unity show, the Tuesday night eye opener show. Welcome and blessings to you.
Thank you so much. I feel the same. Thank you for inviting me again.
Always, always. The great Miss Addie Banks, y'all. The great Miss Addie Banks, man. Let me get into the show, y'all. Y'all know how One Blood does. We always are in a space to where we're not wanting to tear down anyone's idea, anyone's opinion. No one gets torn down on this platform. This is a platform to build you up, to make you feel good. Sometimes it does hurt because that's what truth does. Truth kind of digs deep sometimes. It kind of gets in your soul and it just kind of it breaks. I always like to use the expression breaking the hate off of the soul. So that's the pain part. But it's also I like the way one of my brothers put it one time. He lost his father, but before he lost him, his father was really sick. So the crying couldn't begin. It was only the worrying. So he was telling his wife, he said, I couldn't get the process of healing going until the death came, until it was broken. When you finally break the thing off, that's bonding you down, then you can start the healing process. And I like to think of One Blood as doing that for the people, is really breaking the hate off the soul. So today is I think it's very interesting conversation. We talked about it earlier, Miss Addie, and I love it. It's a question of many questions, and it just simply states: is it more is racism more individual or more institutionalized? So I will answer that. I will answer that at the end. One Blood loves to give his answer at the end so we can really collaborate and make this thing happen in a beautiful way. Don't want to tear anybody down. So let me start off with this right here. I did get an answer. Let me read two of these real quick for you. And it was interesting. And one said, I say both because embedded institutionally, but some white people choose to stand by it and not make the change, even though they know it's wrong. That's a good point. Very good. Very, very good point. This one says it's both, but the institutional racism is one of the that matters the most to this particular individual. He thinks the institutional matters the most to him more than the individual. He says it doesn't bother me much anymore. That's kind of when it doesn't bother you anymore, you become numb. So it's like a drug. When I've heard addicts. I used to drink really bad. I can put myself. Let me take everybody else out, but let me put myself in it. It was a season in my life where I had a really bad drinking problem. I love beer. I had a beer problem. I wanted to come home and drink beer, so I became numb to everything else that was going on around me. All my surroundings was okay to me because I was in a different state of mind. So when you say something to the fact, not knocking what you're saying, I'm just saying when you say something to the fact of it doesn't bother you anymore, racism doesn't bother you, something that's embedded, something that is the biggest weapon known to man, that only God created the weapon to defeat it. It doesn't bother you anymore. You're letting the hate override your decisions. You're letting it guide you. You're letting it dictate the way you think now. You're saying forget it. You don't want to fight anymore to make things better. That's just my opinion. Ms. Addie, you agree or?
Interesting point.
Okay. I said the same. That was my answer. I said interesting. that was my answer back to him. But they said they let me see the consequences of going viral, losing their jobs, schools, etc. Okay, so they really believe in institutionalized. All right, this one says the individuals collectively make the laws that govern the institutions. So let me take those three and let me put those three together. Those three answers right there they really pinpoint to one direction, which is institutional. They believe it was, let me explain this way. Institutional, what does that mean? Institutional means housing market, the White House, the governance, the police brutality. It steps on anything that Blacks do not own is institutional. Individual is how you grow up. It's what you're trained. It's what you're taught at the round table. That's the individual part. Now, with these guys going straight forward, everybody's above 40, so I imagine what they've been through in their life as the individual self, what they have witnessed, everything kind of caters and the blame is pushed toward government now, and which is the bottom line of an institutionalized part of it. With going in that direction, y'all know how I do. You know I love to not play, but bring an identity. I always go back to the man when we go in any direction that I'm going. I always go back to the man. Why? Because I truly believe when Christ came, he had 12 disciples. So he restructured socialism. I mean, not socialism, society. He restructured it with those 12 disciples. He was telling men, hey, get your act together. I'm going to train you on how to run this domain, this realm that he put us in charge of. He took the keys from hell and the grave and the devil and gave it to man and said, man, look, I'm giving you your power back. And I'm going to reset civilization with men. So therefore, I always cater back for me. I always go to the heart of the man, not pushing blame, trying to explain. And I hope you're catching this, because it's not the faults that we have in this world. We're the ones that have to take the heat and the blame for it. If you look at Adam and Eve, you know, it was Eve the one that did the sinning, but Adam was the one that had to pay the price. Jews took Christ out. He was a man, according to the word. He took the blame. So where does it fall back on? It falls back on man. So identity, where is our identity? What are we training our people to, not just our people, but anyone around the glass table, around the wooden table, the supper table, the dinner table? What is our conversations doing? Is that conversations institutionalized or is it individual? I want you to really think about that and think about where it's going. Now, Ms. Addie, I'm gonna come to you because I know you're gonna take it to a truth level of history, as you always do, with a very good, wise way of going. And I want to hear from you, your side, and how you really make this thing beautiful.
Thank you for the points that you have already made, because that frames everything. We are individuals in an institution. You cannot separate. We are a body with a soul. Can't be separated.
I like that. I like where you're going.
Okay.
I like where you're going.
So when we think in terms of together instead of either or, then that's the first foundation. In preparation for tonight, I thought of an example. When I was raising my children, they were very young. And because of my background, I grew up military. My father was in the military. So I taught my children, if you ever get in trouble, the policeman is your friend. If you're in trouble, you find a policeman, and that policeman is going to help you address your problem.
Wow, that's interesting.
Your response, I see where you headed.
Wow.
That is an example of individual. As they got older and they went to school, and their friends started saying things like, the man gonna get you, the man is out to get you, that you can't trust the police. When they started watching television and seeing the scenarios about police brutality, when they listened to music that had its own messages about police.
Yes, indeed.
Then the police is your friend idea was challenged to them.
Yeah.
That's institution.
I get that.
So how do we behave? We behave because of the institution that teaches us.
I get that. You don't hurt somebody's head right then, but I get that.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we have been taught by our wise parents.
Yes.
Who you hanging with?
Yes.
Who you listening to? And of course, the word tells us that there are a lot of false prophets out there.
It is. You gotta be careful
And
what you eat.
you need to know who is speaking to you, whether it is a position of evil and negative,
right,
or hope and positive.
Can I ask you this? How does your children feel now, from your perspective? How do they feel now, being of age? What you taught them back then about policemen. How do they feel now?
Interesting. They have never had a negative encounter with the police, other than being stopped for a ticket or something like that.
Right.
So I would imagine that they may or may not teach their children that police is your friend.
Right, right.
But it gets into the interesting piece of race relations. If we are taught from early on that white people are the devil,
I understand.
then how are you going to convince people that there are good people and there are bad people and it isn't about color?
Right.
How do we take this out of institutional and apply some truth to it?
Got to understand yourself first, I would believe. Hopefully.
Well, that's
know
what
where you.
Because we're running around talking, and if you don't know what you're talking about because you don't know who you are, it begins with sitting down and looking in the mirror. I used to be a mental health counselor, and I would tell people, sit down and write down 10 things about you, and they would sit with the pen and paper and just look at it. Get to know who you are.
Get to know who you are. Got to be able to do that. You got to unite you with you. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let me. It was a speech I did. Oh, it's been a while ago, and it was based off Who Told You That. I think me and you talked about it a while back, maybe a year ago. I did a speech on that. Who told you that? And it lines right up with identity. You know, what my father taught me, I'm bettering it by teaching my sons. I'm increasing it. The knowledge that he gave me was wisdom for him, knowledge to me. Now it's wisdom for me, giving my sons knowledge. So I'm increasing it to another level of what he gave it to me. So they'll know more. And that's the whole projective. So they'll know more. In other words, who told you that? There was an incident that happened with two high school students. And I'm going to tie this in, but stick with me. I'm going to tie it in real well with identity. Two high school students, two white high school students, they did a project in the bathroom. I should have sent it to you, but I just seen it today. They said we are going to create the N-word. They had N-word wrote on a piece of paper in the sink in the bathroom, and they had different cups all the way around it. And it was mind-blowing to see something like this. But what the interesting part was is when they came up to the part, you know, they would say, well, how do you make one? How do you make an N-word? So they take a cup of water, and they had like, does he have any father? Fatherless, in other words. Pour it in there. What makes up a N-word? You know? And then they go to make poor decisions. Pour that in there. Now, with everything that they poured in and everything they was talking about negatively wise, what makes up pretty much an African American, lack of better terminology, what they use. This is what caught my eye for his identity. I'm gonna bring myself in this as well. Now that they have been caught, backlash is kicked in, right? So at this point, this is individually. It's an individual test that they have done. And these same folks are asking for a major forgiveness right now because they've been kicked out of high school. College scholarships are completely gone, and their life is somewhat ruined. Okay. Now, I'm 15, well, maybe say 17, 18, 19 years old, making poor decisions. Well, I'm in college at this point, 19, I'm 20, I'm about 21 at this point when I just went to college. Young, out there in the world. I am literally studying in my car at a park. Now, individually, these couple have just poured in a sink some negative thoughts, and now they got caught. Now they're feeling sorry for themselves and want everybody to stop and leave them alone, and they don't know how they're going to live their life. They don't know how they're going to progress. They don't know how they're going to move on from this, and they want everybody to stop sharing the video so they won't get any more trouble. And how it's not so fair. How can they be treated like this? Now, these are individuals. Now, I'm an individual who had quite a few negative police stoppings. I'm in the park, minding my business, smoking a black and mild, and I am studying my butt off in school. Cop rolls up extremely fast on me. It's a dark park. I'm in Maryland, Prince George. I don't know if you know about Prince George, but Prince George is like one of the most racist towns in Maryland. I'm up there chilling. Really not making a ruckus or nothing. You're just reading and smoking my black and mild. Asked to be pulled out the car. So when I got out of the car, got kind of a little rough and kind of threw up against the hood. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm from the South. We don't do this, you know. So my mind has to stay, you know, my parents, they want to see me come home. But my mindset is I'm gonna make it home regardless. You know, that's my mindset. Thank God for change and deliverance. This young man have a nerve to ask me, do I have a rocket launcher in my pockets? So he needs to search my car and my pockets. I'm holding a college book, very, very thick college book. And I'm getting patted down for a rocket launcher. Now that blows my mind. I'm in a different state of mind. I'm trying to figure it out, not scared at all. I'm really, at this point in time, I'm ill, very frustrated. But with this group, these two young people, that's me individually, right? Now I forgive him because he's an individual. We forgive them too because they're individual. Now they grow up, they go to college, they make their way into Congress. Now we've forgiven them individuals who have that mindset of hate. And we say, okay, you're all right. You had a terrible moment, you had a teenage moment. No psychological reframing, changing the mindset. We just pop on the hand and say, go. Now with the same cop, he grows up, gets older, and becomes lieutenant or commander by now, right? Now we're in the institutional part. Now we have that group of people who make the laws, who thinks of them, who writes them up, puts them together. Now, this is my twist. I know everybody, you know, Miss Addie, you said both. The brothers said more institutionalized. Here's my train of thought. We go from individual to institutionalized, and then we pass it back down to the individual. That's why we have police brutality. That's why we have these young people not learning their lessons, because the fathers are not breaking the hate off the soul from the beginning. This is why our country is not slowly, but so much in an identity crisis, because we never teach the pure truth of who you are, where you come from, and your potential of what you can be, versus what somebody thinks they should pour you out to be. Individually, institutional, back to the individual. That is how we continue pushing out racism from a broad space. What are your thoughts, Ms. Addie? You cooking over there.
Very, very interesting. Mm-hmm. But my question is, mm-hmm, can we fix it on an individual basis to address an institutional issue? What do you think?
I believe it starts with the individual first. And we have to take it and you say, how can we fix it? The message is like this. We don't have the Martin Luther Kings anymore. And not saying that can't arise. Not saying One Blood is not going to get there. That is One Blood plan, but there are steps to how that works. There are steps to how Martin Luther King did it. And I know he had the glory of God on the whole way. But if we don't break this hate off the soul of the individual that is actually growing up to the institution, if we don't stop that individual space first, we're going to stay in this rut for the rest of our civilization. And I know we say, how do we do it? Nights at the round table is how I like to call it. And it's who told you that. If we can press on and help change the mindset of people that are my age and your age, and the ones that are older than 40 pretty much, imagine if we broke the hate off of them and they didn't teach their kids, like my sons are 15, 16, wouldn't it be, how fair would it be for them to go to school and deal with people that actually really thinks that way, that they can pour them into a sink and make them? My sons have a father. I have a father. I make wise decisions. I make not so wise decisions time to time. I'm what they call human. You're called human. I think we all are humans. So, does that answer your question?
It gets started, but I haven't done
Uh-huh.
maybe even a comment.
Make a comment. I'm with you. I'm with you.
When we are training our children
Mhm.
to act right,
Mhm.
what are we teaching them? We might make sure they get to church and Bibles, Sunday school.
Mhm.
We might teach them to say please and thank you. We might teach them to say prayers at night before they climb into bed.
Mhm.
We teach them that academically, you need to learn these things so that when you get grown, you will know how to behave. If we don't teach them those things,
Mhm.
is it their fault that they don't know any better?
You want my opinion on that? I am always in the blame of the guider and the leader. Who told you that? Who is your leader in your home? If there is no guidance, then how can that child know? Hate is taught, love is given. You cannot, a child just doesn't come out the womb hating. I haven't witnessed it. Now you got some mean children out there, but they have seen it. They know it, they've witnessed it. And on an individual basis, if that father doesn't stick with that child, then that child is continuously lost. If you remember when Christ was on the cross, the one question he asked his father is, why hast thou forsaken me? Do you know how bad he felt? If that doesn't resonate in your soul, that even Christ, a part of God, felt that much pain when his father turned his face away from sin. He felt that much pain.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't. We turn that pain into hate. And why? Because the father is not doing what the father should be doing.
But
That's
if
why
the father does not know, see, that's the thing.
that's where I kick in. Yeah, that's
that,
me.
that's why what you're doing is so important. What I have read and what I have heard is that so many men said, I didn't have a father, so how am I supposed to know how to be a good father? If you don't know, and I'm going to get back to your young white boys at the sink. I have a different perspective. How, if America's institutional racism has been so effective that it reinforces the behavior of policemen and students standing at the sink pouring substance into Negroes. I'm going to change it to Negroes. Yeah. Why are we blaming them?
Can't blame them.
Why are we blaming them when, as a society, if we can teach America to put on a mask before you go outside, or something bad may happen to you, then we can teach America the tenets of racism, the fallacies, the myths, the history, so that even young white boys at the sink will be able to get it. But if you don't invest in that training on an institutional level, we expect people to know civics so they'll know how to vote, but we don't teach people from hundreds of different cultures to live together. The predictable outcome is that every group is going to look out for their group, and they're going to diss everybody else's group. True.
That goes back to biblical. All the Canaanites, all those knights. Everybody hung with their own group. Everybody hung with their own people. Even when God split it with the languages, it was all.
It's
That's
survival. It's
yes.
look at animals. They do the same thing.
Yes.
It's about survival. And unless we understand the fundamentals of survival, is defense to protect your group.
There's a study out, and I'm gonna get some more clarification on it, but I really like the study. And the minority now is becoming white folks. So we're saying that it puts a fear. And remember, me and you talked a long time ago, well, it's been a while ago about this one, when I wrote a speech on misplaced fear. Somewhere, somehow, we have misplaced the fear. We took fear and put fear on man. With COVID-19, in my opinion, God is saying you better put fear back in its place.
Better hear it.
Yeah. So, and I believe, with me, I always go back to individual, and I always go back to identity. But I believe all the way that with that fear that's in place, if we don't take it off of man, we will stay institutionalized on a heavy, heavy range. And these conversations that the young man and the young lady had with their parents, this is how you make a Negro. That wasn't a conversation that young man just came up with out of his mind.
There you go.
He was taught how to do that.
There you go.
I wonder how many of his peers doesn't have fathers. How does he even know that? Does he go to the guidance counselor and say, hey, how many of these blacks have fathers and don't have fathers? Where's the statistics in his creation? And it's pouring out. In my perspective, they're pouring out something that they want. Anytime you start digging a ditch, it's an old saying. When you start digging that ditch, you're digging it for yourself. And a lot of people always say, well, you can't lead a horse to the water and make him drink. You can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. My comeback to that is, why not teach him? Now, these kids went down there and they did what they did. Should they be reprimanded for it? Yes, I believe so. But we also have to find out who told you that and let them know that it is just as important as someone like me that didn't have a record. I wasn't going against anyone. I wasn't pouring nothing out. I was studying. And I asked that I have a rocket launcher. What kind of fairness is that? But I still pressed on and became educated even further. Through the grace of God, always grace and mercy. So I'm totally in agreement with you. We can't blame these two children. And I mentor too many kids anyway. I mentor too many kids to blame them. I always go back to their identity. Who told you that? And where are they at? Let's talk to them. I like to see the horse because I can train a horse in the way he should go. What you think, Miss Addie? Them wheels over there look good now.
I totally agree with you. And I'm glad that someone has taken the responsibility of working with our youth because, you know, we scapegoat them. We always talking about, oh, young Black men and oh, young this men and women. Oh, they don't know what to do and they're this and that. Who's working with them to move them to a better level? And so I thank you for that.
Oh, you're more than welcome. But God be the glory. I don't take no credit now. That's on him. Because I couldn't do it without him. He got too much. These children something else. Let me flip and see if we had any. Let me check out the YouTube. There we go. All right. So I'm excited about it. I loved it. I hope you felt really good about it. I hope, family, I hope you understand it.
Thank you. I grow a little more every week. Thanks.
You have anything else you want to tell the audience?
Only to think about the things that you have heard about other groups. Think about what truth may really be. Because as we think about what people say about us, what are we saying about other people? That's it.
What did I say? Point one and three coming back. I'm gonna leave you with this right here, family. You know, one of my phrases that I love to use, and I think it matches. I think it matches well with everything that we do, with everything that One Blood does. If each individual does the individual job, that is what will make a team. It's all individual. We can go to the big groups, and we can, when you break the big groups down, I use this phrase quite often. When the sheets fall back, it's just you and God. At the end of the day, it's just you and God. So it falls back to the individual. That's the one that moves on the chessboard into different positions to create different catastrophes that goes throughout this whole world. So if each individual does the individual job, that means fathers, raise your children, show them their identity in a positive, Christ-like way, not in a hateful way. Hateful is taught. Love is always given. And you know One Blood loves you. Y'all be safe, be blessed, be safe, be clean, stay clean, stay clean. I will be showing out, check my Facebook page out. And when you go on, I am doing a COVID-19 19 push-ups, 19 days. We're doing this for, I coach a football team, so we're doing it for the football kids. We're trying to get these kids out the house, off the couch, get them active, and show them that they are a part of something that's great. Why? Because it's greatness on the inside of them. So we want to continue to push them to a great mindset. This is hard for them. You got to realize something is going on in their mind right now, not being able to go to school, not being able to go out. It's hard on adults. So imagine what the child mind is going through right now. We're doing it also too to pay respects to all our essential workers, especially the first responders, man of God, the nurses and doctors and firemen and police, who are really trying to keep us safe and healthy. So it's, man, be clean, be wise, be safe. Miss Addie, you want to share your social media?
Not tonight.
Not tonight. Miss Addie, you're true. Amen, amen. I will talk to you guys soon. Be blessed, be safe. You know One Blood loves you.
Love you back.